welcome back to another Wednesday night episode with me, Evil Eddie, and that guy above me is, of course, Ted Check, and you're watching Evil and Intoxicated, episode number 25, and it's been a wild week. We're going to catch you up with all that you need to know in the MMA world going around. First, we're just going to introduce ourselves in case we got any new listeners, watchers. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com. Follow me on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. That guy above me, well, who is that guy above me? That, of course, is Ted
Who is that
Check.
guy?
Who is that guy? Who
Eddie,
the fuck
hey.
is that?
What? Who the fuck is that guy? Hey, Eddie. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Just taking care of the puppy. All of our listeners know that we just got a puppy here at the house, so he's been handful lately. Just pouring my nightly cup of coffee, getting ready to bust into some MMA talk because there's some very important topics that I feel we need to cover and inform our listeners on.
There we go. Coffee for everybody.
Cheers.
Yeah. Hey. I'm just thinking, just real quick. I've been thinking about end of the year stuff. You know, fight of the year, fighter of the year, all that kind of stuff. And have you seen? Did you happen to see? I was on Sure Dog today. Did you see Rhonda's new commercial? She did a commercial for Pantene.
Oh, really? No,
Pantene. It's a strong woman, commercial, and she's she's doing her little combos and everything. It's nice, she's still getting work. That's great. She's making
money, man. She's making money.
She's not the champ. She hasn't fought in more than a year, but she's still making money. I have to be impressed with that,
Yeah, I'm sure she recorded that months and months ago, and it took them a while to get it out. But either way, she's on like so many commercials, man. Between that, the cell phone commercials. I'm just excited for her to come back. That's the only time I'm looking forward to seeing her. I'm not a big fan of the movies. When fighters are in movies, I'm a big fan of their fights, and that's why I'm a fan of them.
I get you, but I got to say that that Triple X movie with Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
He looks like a natural in that. I mean, where somebody hits him with a book. He's like, you hit me with a book?
We discussed this before. It's the accent.
Yeah, that's all right. We won't get into that. But yeah,
it's the accent. Great. Remember, we were talking about.
I didn't even do it right.
Accent.
Yeah, I didn't do it right. I screwed that one up. But anyway, what was I going to say? And then Conor McGregor. Apparently, he's going to be on Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, and I don't know whether it's going to be this season coming up in the spring or they've only got 2 seasons left. I figure he's going to be a wildling.
I don't follow the show. I'm not up to date with any of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, the writing was kind of on the wall because remember when he sparred with that really
the mountain? Yeah, the mountain.
Huge dude, the mountain. Okay, so you know the mountain. Yeah, yep. 6'9", 400 pounds. His name is Hafthor Bjornsson.
What a sick name, man!
Isn't that? He's from Iceland. So
of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Conor's great friends with Gunnar Nelson.
Yep.
Who's from Iceland, so that's probably how he met the mountain, and sparred with the guy, light sparring, and so I kind of figured, wouldn't it be great if he was on the show? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely some interesting news coming out this week. Also, guys, if you're just tuning in, we are on episode number 25, believe it or not, Ted. We finally made it over, that 25 hump. We're halfway to 50, man, and a quarter way to 100.
Over the hump.
Over the hump. And actually, I got an email I need to send you after the show. We'll be talking. Jordan actually sent me an email, so I'm going to forward that to you after. Like I said, if you guys are just tuning in, make sure you follow us on Twitter. We're going to be discussing the hot topics today in MMA. Cyborg turning down two chances to possibly fight for a 145-pound title. Randy Couture is in the news this week. We're going to be discussing a couple of things. There's a live chat room that's open. If anyone wants to ask us questions, ask away. We'll stop and address you. Ted is in charge of that chat room.
Oh, God. I don't think that was a smart decision. Anyway.
All right, Ted, let's jump right into it, man. This weekend, Ultimate Fighter Season 24 finale. Tim Elliott, who took this season, there were rumors about it going around on Reddit. Of course, while the season was going on, I talked about this. I thought Dana did a great job not addressing it like he did in the past. However, Tim Elliott becomes the winner of the season, and then he goes in there to fight Mighty Mouse, and I thought he did pretty good. Now, let me break it down really quick, and then I'll pass it over to you. Going into that first round, man, I was like, oh my God, I think Mighty Mouse is in trouble. We really never seen him in that much trouble. But then again, we all know if you come out in the first like that, and it's a 5-round fight, man, I hope you can keep up with it. but he had that headlock on him. He had that guillotine, and Mighty Mouse
Right.
got that big head. I was like, oh my God, it's all over. Mighty Mouse, the veteran he is, remains calm and slips out of it. And at one point in the fight, he was even grabbing Tim Elliott's nose, and they were goofing around a little bit, showing the love and the passion that they have for the sport. It's not a, it's not a berserker sport. So I was happy to see that. What was your take on that fight, Ted, and where'd you watch it?
Well, here at home, Tim Elliott came in. He was like the unorthodox underdog, if you will. But yeah, I mean, he had a fantastic showing there in that fight. He dropped DJ, but we've seen DJ get dropped before.
It
John
was
Dodson,
weird.
I think.
Yeah, it almost
Dodson
looked like
did
he
it, I
was,
think, 3 times in one of their fights. But the thing is, somebody made this point. I forget who it was, but that the thing is with the flyweights, they can get dropped like that. You know, you go to the heavyweights, somebody gets dropped like that.
Oh, you're done.
They're pretty much done. And that might be the root of the problem with it. Why people don't dig the flyweights.
They want to see those heavyweight knockouts like Chuck Liddell and all that,
Right. And now, Demetrius Johnson, to his credit, he has finished opponents. You can't just look at the guy and say, well, you know what, he doesn't finish anybody. He's not exciting. He's an exciting fighter. But I think it's the fact that like I just said about people getting dropped, and not going out. Number one, number two, they're just so small. I think it's just that, and I think we talked about this before. It's just that 10-pound weight difference.
Yep.
People are just fine with 135s, but you get to 125 and 5'3", 125 pounds, and people just don't want to look at it. I don't know, Or maybe it has to do with the guy that's been there at the top the whole time, DJ. Maybe people are tired of him being champion. You know what I mean? They want to see something else. I mean, he's not exactly the. Let's face it. He's not exactly the most charismatic guy. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the problem is. But some people are calling for the UFC to abolish the division. They're like, let's just get rid of it.
Crazy talk. That's crazy talk, man. Because there's some exciting fights. You got one guy that's great in that division, but no one was talking about that when Anderson Silva was doing the same damn thing. I mean, the problem here is, Ted, that there was no promotion in the past for Mighty Mouse. I mean, it's almost like he got this streak under, and no one even realized it. And they're like, oh my God, he's catching up with Anderson Silva. And this season of Ultimate Fighter, I've been discussing this with you and everyone in the last couple episodes. It was what they had to do for this division to kind of, rebuild the numbers, because you can't sell the flyweights like you were just saying. People want to see those knockout real highlights, and you're not going to get that in the flyweight division, unfortunately. But what you are going to get is an entertaining 5-round fight of 2 dudes that just want to scrap, go in there, and they get dropped. You don't know what you're going to see in there, but you're not going to see a heavyweight knockout fight, and that's a huge problem to the casual fan. But the UFC did a great job this year on Ultimate Fighter. I think they had a pretty good outcome for Ultimate Fighter finale this weekend. I heard the numbers are actually pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, that's refreshing. Yeah, and Muradai is on our chat.
What's going on, Muradai? Yeah. Shout out.
He's saying the division needs a Cody Garbrandt or a John Lineker. Unfortunately, those 2 guys are in the 135 division. He says it needs someone like that to fire up the division. Now, I looked at the top 10 in the UFC, in the latest UFC rankings. So the man who DJ has beaten twice, Joseph Benavidez, is sitting at the number 1 position. That's a big problem. That's a big problem right there. Henry Cejudo, who Benavidez just beat, is at number 2, who DJ already beat as well.
Yep.
Kyoji Horiguchi's number 3. DJ beat him. Then you got Jussier Formiga at number 4. Wilson Heiss at 5. Ian McCall, who DJ beat, at number 6.
That was the flyweight. That was the very first fight for that division.
Right. Then you got Zach Makovsky at number 7. Ali Bagutinov, who DJ beat, at number 8. Number 9 is John Moraga. DJ beat him. And number 10, the hot new sensation, Brandon Moreno. McLovin.
McLovin.
He needs to be called McLovin. He's called something else. I don't know I forget what his nickname is, the young something or other, but got to change that to McLovin for sure.
So here, this was the big talk this week, Ted, of course, was Joseph Benavidez has fought Mighty Mouse before in the past, and that's really the only contender. And it's on, twice. And he got laid out by Mighty Mouse. John Dodson, he's gone. He changed divisions. I thought that was smart. What you got to do here, Ted, in my opinion, is have the rematch with Dominic Cruz. There's no ifs, ands, and buts that would actually sell, because if Dominic beats Cody Nolov now, that's going to be, all right, Dominic's back. This injury is really not bothering him. He can't stay up with the new era fighters. Let's get that rematch going on, because Mighty Mouse is on something new since they last fought.
So you want Mighty Mouse to jump up to 135?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And I had that thought too, but the thing is, I think that he wants to do that eventually, but I think before he does that, he wants to beat Anderson Silva's record of 10 title defenses in a row, 10 consecutive title defenses. He's had 9, so he needs to have 2 more. Then he needs to, number 10, he needs to match it, and then number 11 to beat it. What do you think? I think he's going to try to go for that first, but it's just I can't really get excited. The only guy that really excites me is Brandon Moreno, but he's at number 10, and he's so young. Yeah. He doesn't have the experience yet. You know what I mean? And you don't want to throw a young kid like that, into the fire too soon.
Yeah, well, he was just on that season, Ultimate Fighter. He had his chance to do that. I think he has to work back up. He has made a great debut. As far as this goes, there's a couple options, but they're all like kind of cul-de-sac, because, like I said, you can't really get too excited.
Cul-de-sac. Going around and around.
Yeah, it's like a good idea, but you're like, I don't know, maybe we'll try something else, because Joseph Benavidez to sell that fight again, Ted, even though it was a very close fight between Henry and Joseph, I thought. that first round, that point was taken away, but the judging, the judges' scorecards, I know it wouldn't have made that much of a difference, but it would have. It would have, it really would have. That 1 point, and then that one judge had it. It was just a mess, man.
Right. I mean, those guys went at it hammer and tongs for sure. It's exciting to see a fight like that, where it's a knockdown, drag-out fight. But and I don't mean to be picky, but it kind of crossed the line a little bit into recklessness, like with the 2 low blows by Cejudo. So that, I was listening to some of the commentary afterwards on Fox, and so they were saying, okay, that round was a 9-9. But then how did one judge score it like 30-26 or something like that?
It was a mess.
You're right. It was an exciting fight. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. It's great. And Cejudo impressed me a lot, because this guy is a world-class wrestler.
An Olympian.
But, he showed a lot of heart and a lot of aggression in that fight, and he got his licks in on Benavidez. So it was a good fight.
So let us know what you guys think about this on Twitter and Facebook. You can find me and Ted. Find me on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA, and at Facebook, facebook.com/Pure Evil MMA. I really cannot make it any more easier for you guys than that. You can find Ted at Ted Check. That's not CHECK. That's CZECH. And let us know what you guys think about this. Who do you guys want to see Mighty Mouse fight next? And if you guys are just tuning in, you're listening to episode number 25 of Evil and Intoxicated. I'm your host, or co-host, however you want to look at it, Evil Eddie, and that is the infamous Ted Check. All right, Ted, let's get into round number 2 of our weekly news. Let's talk about do you have something to say real quick?
Hold the presses. Hold
on. Wait a minute.
Masvidal versus Ellenberger.
Oh, yes, that's right. We're going to review that last one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. What should we call this? Toegate.
The Toegate.
Toegate. Yeah, there we go. We've had Greasegate with GSP. We've had Stoolgate with Yoel Romero.
And Pizzagate?
Oh God, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, and now we have Toegate. So if you saw the fight or if you didn't see the fight, Ellenberger got his left big toe stuck in the fence. Apparently, it's a problem. Apparently, people were aware of this. It's a freak accident, but it can happen. Just the way that he fell into the fence after a flurry from Masvidal, he falls into the fence and his left toe is stuck there, and so he he was kind of, in a sense, he was left defenseless. It seemed like he was waiting for Herb Dean to stop the fight, so he absorbed a few more blows, well, he was waiting for Dean to temporarily stop the fight. Instead, Herb Dean stopped it for good, and awarded the victory to Masvidal. Now, they say you're supposed to protect yourself at all times, but Ellenberger is preoccupied with his toe.
Yep.
And I watched the replay. I watched it in slow mo, and Herb Dean gets close to the action, and it looks like, from the camera angle I was looking at, it looked like he was looking right at Ellenberger's toe, but I guess he missed it. What do you think?
It was weird, and it's definitely something that needs to be fixed, because I heard somebody saying that it kind of looked like he was calling timeout. Did it not look like that to you?
I didn't see that, but I mean, you could be right.
I mean, even if he was calling timeout, in some states that's considered, it's all over. There is no timeout.
That you're giving up.
Yeah.
Or that you're tapping out or whatever. Yeah.
Obviously, this is a problem. You said that people have known about this in the past. It is a freak accident, but it's something that needs to be fixed. Put padding or something around that, because if you're looking at the cage, there's that, how it's a triangle.
Right.
And the bottom of the cage is like that. You got to put padding there. Like, what else do you do? You can't have that happen again. This is a professional fighter's record that you're talking about. Every fight on this contract means something, and it's money. It's money in your life, in your career. You can't have freak accidents like that and be like, oh, whatever, we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, there needs to be some type of barrier or, something that needs to be done. I mean, absolutely. It's a chain link fence, but, come on.
Well, look at Ellenberger now, man, because he was in a tough position. I mean, what's the UFC going to do with him now? Because if he lost one more fight, like they were saying, they were going to give him that pink slip again.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading the comments here. Rusty was saying the commission stopped the fight, not Herb Dean, but then Muradai is saying he stopped the fight and asked the commission if it's a failure of the cage and what to do. Then when he got the go, he stopped the fight for good. See, I disagree. I mean, they should have restarted the fight.
From that position?
Well, I mean, I guess you could without the toe in the cage.
Well, I'm interested to see what they're going to do about this, because it's even more interesting because of the position that Ellenberger's facing right now. Yeah. I mean, that could be his pink slip because of that, and that's not his fault.
Well, I mean, I don't think. I hope not. I hope not. We told the story last week, right, about Ellenberger.
They'd be doing him dirty, man.
Vegas, and basically bending the knee, getting begging for another shot, and so I mean, the guy wants to fight. He's a good fighter. I mean, he wasn't doing so well. Here's the thing, and I don't know, maybe it's silly to deal with the what ifs, but I mean, Masvidal was firing on all cylinders. Ellenberger did not look good in this fight, so it's possible even if you did restart it, the same outcome would have occurred. Masvidal, the winner. But, it should have been allowed to reach a natural conclusion like that, if that was going to be the case, and not have it end like this. This is a... It's not the way that it should end.
It's definitely not the way it should end. And something needs to be done about it because, like I said, Ellenberger's in a tough spot. If that happens again, it's just something that definitely needs to be fixed, in my opinion. But all in all, rating that night, I mean, we got to see Jamie Moyle go in there and put up a great fight. I got to interview her a week or two ago before her fight, so that was exciting. And Ryan Hall, just really quick before we move on, Ryan Hall fought, and I actually sat my little sister, my little cousin down who has Tourette syndrome, and my other little cousin down, his older brother, who has autism. And I wanted to show him, Ryan Hall. And then I showed him my interview with Doomsday and all that, just because, it just shows people, like, you can do anything. You can do anything. Don't let anything limit you. So that was pretty cool. That was their first fight to watch, so with their cousin Ed. So it was pretty cool. Good night, all in all.
Yeah, you're introducing the youngins to a new sport. That's great.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. But all in all, Ted, for a free show, Ultimate Fighter, based on the other Ultimate Fighter finales, out of 5 stars, I'd give that a 3.5 star review.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Muradai again. The Hulk versus the Killer Gorilla was the best fight. Are you riding a horse? What are you doing there? Yeah. What's that guy's name? It's Ion. What is his last name? The Hulk guy. Yeah, the guy who totally paints himself green.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
And then the other guy there, Jared Cannonier. Cannonier? I think that's his name. You can tell these guys are totally on my radar. I got their names down like that. Yeah, that was a good fight. That guy Cannonier just walking towards him with his hands down.
Yeah, big no. Like Brian Callen was saying, you stick to the fundamentals.
Right. I mean, gutsy on one hand, and not too bright on the other. You know, I mean, yeah, he might have gotten away with it this time around because I guess he felt that there weren't much on the Hulk's punches, but I wouldn't do that to too many other guys in the light heavyweight division.
Not a good idea, but it's definitely fun to watch when people do get a little risque. But once you're caught, you never see a fighter do that again, usually.
Right.
All right, so
Ann's going to head home now.
Oh, what's going on, Ann? I'm so happy they're watching. I see that there's 6 people now tuned in. Thanks for tuning in to Evil and Intoxicated for the live stream. You guys can catch the replay afterwards. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Evil Eddie. That's Ted Check. We just discussed Ultimate Fighter Season 24 finale. Now we're going to be moving on to, what do you want to talk about, Ted? I think it's time to talk a little Cyborg, turning down those belts.
All right, we'll get back to the UFC, the upcoming fights. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, to round it off. We'll
Sure,
round
man.
we'll round the show off with that. Real quick, Ted, make sure you guys give us a follow on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA and at Ted Check. That's TEDCZECH and at Pure Evil MMA. You can see over in the corner. Like I said, just to update you guys, we're going to be doing an end of the year show, and I'm going to be putting up the categories, like best fighter of the year, most improved fighter of the year, best breakout women fighter of the year, new era fighter, best KO, best submission. You guys know what I'm talking about here. End of the year celebration show. We're gonna ride the horse out. We're riding the horse out on this one. We're gonna be doing it, Ted. Because we were discussing it last week, right after Ronda's fight. You gotta wait for the last fight of the year to judge it in a whole.
Oh no, I totally agree with you, man. I mean, 207. That's how we're ending this thing.
That card is amazing. I can't wait. That's the perfect Christmas present for the UFC to give to us, man. That's all I want for Christmas.
All right. So yeah, you want to take Cyborg here?
Yeah, guys. So this week, huge news and very unexpected. Apparently, Dana White was planning on making a 145-pound female division. Now, this was huge news because we saw in the past that Chris Cyborg was having a lot of trouble making weight for these catchweight bouts. She was going in there not fighting the top of the top. I mean, Leslie Smith, great fighter. I'm not saying anything bad about her. Trains with some of the best, like Nick and Nate down there. But going there, Lena Landsberg. They're trying to find girls.
Naked Nate?
What?
Did you just say Naked Nate?
Nick and Nate.
Oh, Nick and Nate.
On Nick at Night.
Naked Nate. I don't know anything about her training with a Naked Nate. That's her business.
She trains with some of the best. Naked Nate. Good old Naked Nate's gonna come over. We're gonna roll around.
That's my adult name. If I was in the porn industry, I'd be Naked Nate.
Naked Nate. I don't want to get submitted by Naked Nate. No north-south positions on me. But anyway, guys. Lena Landsberg, she was a champion in Muay Thai, but we want to see the fights with Holly Holm, and that was some of the discussion that one of these fights might have been was against Holly Holm. Cyborg turned 2 fights down for the female 145-pound division belt. That is a division they would build around her, like we saw with Ronda Rousey. We talked about this a lot, Ted. If they were to open any division for the females, make it for Cyborg's division, man, because she is putting out numbers right now. She's about to go fight for Invicta. Now, I just spoke. Here, I'll let you go, and then I'll let you know a little info I got. I heard from a little birdie about some news about her Cyborg. So.
Well, yeah. So I was reading what you said is correct. Dana White said because Cyborg is saying I can't make 140, I can't make 135, so he's like, screw it, let's make a division based around her. But I think for a long time he said, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do 145, right?
Which
so
isn't
finally,
strange to me because he says that about everything, and then it happens.
I mean, he's a total politician. He changes his mind more than Oprah changes her body type. She's fat.
You said it, Ted. It's to get us more excited because we're like, oh, I guess it's not happening. And oh, what? It's happening?
I just hate it though. It's a mind fuck. But anyway, okay. So he said, okay, we're gonna make a 145. He finally decides we're gonna make a 145 division around Cyborg, and then she turns these fights down. I'm looking at something here. It says here, I offered Chris Cyborg a title fight at 145 a month ago. He told the UFC Unfiltered podcast. She had 8 weeks to get ready for it. She said she couldn't make the weight. She said she couldn't make 145. So then I offered her another 145-pound title fight for Brooklyn, which is UFC 208.
Yep.
She turned it down. She turned down 2 145-pound title fights.
Which is very strange.
Right. I mean, because then he goes on to say one of the fights was supposed to be against Holly Holm. I guess that was when Holly was champion, maybe?
I think this was more recent.
Well, okay, because one of these fights was supposed to be against Holly Holm. The other was supposed to be against Jermaine Durandamy.
Yeah, yep.
So how could either one of those fights be title fights? Neither one of them are holding the title. So that's a little bit confusing. But the fact remains, at least according to Dana White, she turned down those fights. And then the quote from her was, yeah, she did turn down the fights because her life depended on it. She said her blood was so thick
they couldn't even draw blood.
Couldn't even be drawn from her body. And then she says here, I told him I can fight anyone in March of 2017, but I need to take care of my body. And she's also dealing with severe depression and can't have another brutal weight cut. The other thing was she had a problem with George Lockhart, who is supposedly one of the best nutritionists. He's the guy, he's the magician that can get you down to whatever weight you want to go to. And he was giving her some birth control pills, and she said that didn't work. That was supposed to get her weight down in a healthy manner. And so it was a nightmare for her, it sounds like. So, it boils down to who's right and who do you believe here? Do you believe Dana White? The thing I hate is Dana White always ends up trashing the fighters. He I don't know why he feels he has to do that. And try to control the narrative. I don't know who to believe is the bottom line. I don't know who to believe.
He tries to make everyone sound like an idiot and under him. I see that a lot.
It never sits well with me that he trashes the fighters like that.
I shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh, and then Minion. Here's Minion.
Minion.
Cyborg gave them 3 conditions. Only 145, no less than 12 weeks notice, and not before March. So, you could argue, is a fighter in a position to make those conditions, those stipulations?
Well, if you're Chris Cyborg, you're
right.
bringing numbers now.
Well, you could argue, well, she's earned it. She's got a lot of clout. She's one of the top female fighters out there. So, do you work with her and say, oh, okay, you know what? Fine, we'll give you those. You look at it from like the owner's position, and like WME, IMG, or Dana White's thinking, well, if we give her these, what's she gonna ask for next?
If you give a mouse a cookie, man. If you give a mouse a cookie.
Yeah. Give them an inch, they take you a mile. Or you look at it from a fighter's point of view. She needs to take care of herself. She knows herself and her body better than anybody else does. So this is what's best for her.
Man, you got to let that body heal. If you want the best Chris Cyborg, you got to let that body heal. You got to give her time. However, with this, Ted, 10 weeks, between 8 and 10 weeks, I think that's plenty of time. I heard from Little Birdie, though, Ted, and this might mean she's fighting in Invicta. Don't forget, she hasn't defended her title for Invicta in almost a year now.
It's been a while, yeah.
So she needs to go back in there and defend the title. So I heard from a Little Birdie that she's going to be fighting sometime in February. Or getting ready for a fight. But either way, she knows what she's doing. apparently.
Wait a minute. Wait. She's telling the UFC March, but you're saying to me that you heard that she's going to be fighting in Invicta in February.
I'm not saying I heard that she's fighting for. I'm not saying exactly that. I'm saying I heard that she's going to be either fighting or getting ready for her fight in February. Is what I heard from somebody very close. From a little birdie.
Okay, that makes more sense. I mean, if she's going to,
And I'm guessing it's for Invicta, not UFC. That's what makes sense to me.
I don't know. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, it would be nice for her to defend the title, for sure. I just don't know how much longer can she keep bouncing back and forth between the two. I would say, yeah, maybe have one final fight in Invicta and then go UFC 100%.
You got I totally agree with you on that. You got to have
If
one more
they
fight.
set up the 145-pound division, just make the move and stay put in the UFC.
You go to Invicta, get that win, you defend your title, and then you say, I'm a big deal. Look at what I did in 2016. Look at the numbers I brought in. Look at the numbers for Invicta that I brought in for UFC Fight Pass. Look at the numbers for UFC Brazil. Look at the numbers for the Lena Landsberg fight. She had an amazing breakout year. It sounds like Dana's trying to work with her. I hope they can figure that out. If you guys have any idea what's going on or you think that you know, make sure you let us know in the chat room. Ted's in control of that. Any last thoughts on this subject, Ted?
Have you noticed that Scott Coker doesn't do this type of thing? He doesn't badmouth fighters. Like whatever goes on, this stuff goes on behind the scenes. You know that there's negotiations, there's give and there's take, and maybe some frustration, right, and aggravation. But Scott Coker never airs out the dirty laundry. You know what I mean? He doesn't talk shit about fighters.
Like a good example of that is when
get tired of it.
A good example of what you're saying here, Ted, is when Dada fought Kimbo, and they're like, are you gonna have Dada come back and fight again? Like, me and Dada will just stay good friends, right?
Yeah. See, he's a master of subtlety.
Yeah.
Dana White has none of that. Dana
White's like the guy you see in a Hollywood movie that runs the business, that badmouths all the fighters, but you know what? The UFC, I'm not saying is what it is because of Dana, but he's a familiar face that's comfortable with all of us, even though we do like ragging on him and judging him. I have to agree with you here though, Ted. I do not like when anyone bashes fighters, put them down, especially the legends that we see. Now, the next topic we're going to talk about kind of shows that Dana's not in charge of what's happening in the UFC with all these layoffs. Chuck Liddell is a very, very close friend of Dana White. I doubt he had anything to do with the planning of this. So next subject, Ted. Chuck Liddell and Matt Hughes leave the UFC. What went through your mind when you heard that? What did you think was going on?
Well, trimming the fat, so to speak. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, when I think about it, honestly, I mean, much respect to these guys, but what exactly do they? I think WME, IMG coming into this, they were like, okay, so what exactly do they do for the company? You know what I mean? But when you because honestly, when you hear Dana White talk about Chuck Liddell and Matt Hughes, he said, hey, look, these were my guys. They helped me out when we were building. Right, when we were building this company, and I wanted them to retire, and so I gave them jobs. And I said, Dana White told them as long as he was signing the paychecks, as long as he had control of the money, they would be getting paid. So that day has come where he's now not in charge of dispensing the money. And, WME IMG has their people that they're bringing in or into those positions, or they're just eliminating those positions altogether. So unfortunately, their time at the UFC came to an end. So I really wasn't surprised. I'm actually kind of surprised that Forrest Griffin is still there because he's among that group. It's kind of the three of them. He was given a cushy front office job from Dana White as well. And so
he's in charge of doing like the updates or something right now.
What's that?
He's like in charge of doing like their updates and a couple of things on their Fight Pass. Him and Chuck just coached the season Ultimate Fighter Latin America.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Jeez.
Yeah, while this season was going on of Ultimate Fighter for the belt of Mighty Mouse.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, but I saw a little clip. I was on the MMAcommunity.com, which is
Boom, boom, boom. Tag.
yeah, it's the best one out there, hands down.
It is.
If you want to go to a forum, the MMAcommunity.com. So I was on that, and there was a little clip that somebody was excited because there were new ring girls.
Oh God.
They hired a couple of new ring girls, and I'm telling you, one of them is absolutely.
Smoke
Well,
show? One of them's
they're
Smoke
both
Show?
they're both absolutely amazing. But one in particular goes bomdy bomdy bomdy, and
Love it.
so so they're walking. They did the card and they're walking by, and there's Forrest, giving his approval. So I'm like, what's he still doing around? Forrest, I'm surprised he wasn't gone with Chuck and Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
He's still there. So there you go. I mean, they've gotten rid of a lot of people, and they're probably going to continue to do that.
Well, a huge thing I just want to point out here is a lot of people like to point their, and I mean, it has nothing to do with what we were just talking about, or how he talks about the fighters, but a lot of people like to point their fingers at Dana White, saying, why would Dana do this? Because he's the guy out on the front line, and just by this happening right here of Chuck losing his job, it just shows that he doesn't have much say anymore with any of that. However, I wonder what they planned with him, because they don't seem like they're backlashing in any way or pissed off about it. I did see like a couple of snaps and Instagram posts with Matt Hughes, and it did seem a little like irritated, a little but I'm sure they're going to be taken care of somehow, because they're two legends of this sport, and we owe a lot to them. And it would be a shame if they're not taken care of.
Well, here's somebody mentioned Muradai pension. Okay, see, they went from fighters to employees of the UFC. So as employees, hopefully they were given that option of getting like a 401k.
If not, that's messed up.
That would be my guess. If they were treated as fighters, even though they were in office positions, then that's a problem. But they could then try to go to the union we can't call it a union, the Fighters Association.
The association.
The Athletes Association. They could go to them. They could join forces with the Athletes Association. If in fact they were not given those benefits,
And speaking of, just to transition really quick to our next topic, Randy Couture. What's going on with Randy, Ted? You brought this topic up with me. I didn't hear much about it. What information do you have about Randy Couture and the UFC battling?
It's a crazy thing. Okay, so there's a guy named Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne is his first name. It's like
what a
two names.
Badass name. Dude, this MMA world's built with badass names.
Mark Wayne Mullen, yeah. So Mark Wayne Mullen, and you want to talk, I mean, he's a former MMA fighter who turned to politics. So I believe he's a United States representative. And he is organized. It's actually happening tomorrow. There's going to be. It's not like a congressional inquiry or anything like that. It's more of like an informational thing, where what they're trying to do is they're trying to expand the Muhammad Ali Act. The Muhammad Ali Act just governs boxers, okay, and it protects them. And so. So they want to expand it to MMA fighters. And so Mark Wayne Mullen wanted to bring Randy Couture to Washington, D.C. to testify before a committee to tell them about mixed martial arts and the UFC. And the UFC tried to allegedly tried to block that. They tried to use their influence to block Randy Couture from appearing before this committee. So then I did a video on it, and I'm like, what kind of deep, dark, damaging secrets does Randy Couture possess? That could bring down the UFC that they don't want. Is he like the Edward Snowden? Edward Snowden, the famous whistleblower, who, where the heck is that guy? He's not. If he stepped foot in the United States, they'd arrest him, right? For treason or whatever. So, You know what I'm saying? Like how damaging, how dangerous is Randy Couture? I mean, yeah, he had a very public, very long, drawn out feud with Dana White that he eventually patched up, but then he jumped ship to Bellator. But Randy Couture was trying to retain rights, I believe, his own rights to his own name, and he had to fight for those. Because it's like when you're a WWE wrestler where you sign over, your name and everything like that, and you maybe you get a little piece of the pie or whatever. But apparently UFC fighters don't get a piece of the merchandise pie.
Which makes no sense at all.
Right. So they tried to do that, and Mark Wayne Mullen's like, no,
no.
Yeah, we're not playing that game.
Havana.
It's
Nope.
not their right. It is not their place to try to tell us who we can and can't, bring before us. That they're out of their gourds. Trying to and there was an unnamed in this article I was reading. There was an unnamed source from the UFC who said, who said Mark Wayne Mullen is incorrect, that the UFC did not try to use their influence to block Randy Couture. But that source wasn't named. Like, you've got Mark Wayne Mullen on the record saying that this is what the UFC tried to do, and then you've got an unnamed source from the UFC, saying disagreeing or trying to counter that. So the whole thing is really weird. But it goes down tomorrow in DC, so it'd be very interesting to see what comes out of this, because this right now is separate from this whole MMA Fighters Association or Athletes Association.
Yeah, the PFA, right? He's part of the
Right.
PFA.
Well, the Muhammad Ali Act is something that the politicians are dealing with right now, and that would go a long way in helping fighters, and would probably strengthen I'm just going to call it a union instead of going MMA AA every time.
Yeah.
The Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association. Instead, I'm just going to call it the union.
Okay.
Because really, that's what it really is, a union. The Muhammad Ali Act would really strengthen that, I think. I think that's what they want as well. At the end of the day, you want to help fighters, and the Muhammad Ali Act is going to do that.
So there's been a lot of changes this year in MMA. So this is one thing that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the things that they're fighting for are going to be, game changers somewhere down the road soon. But there was also big news this week, Ted, about MMA AA
Right.
lawyers trying to give him a cease and desist. Did you hear about that?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. I have the
You're the
My stack
freaking
of-
man. Hell yeah.
right here. This is
Wait,
a
you gotta
copy
do it, Ted. You gotta do it. There you go.
of the email sent to me by. You're going to get to know this name if he hangs around, because I guarantee you this guy's going to be busy sending out lots of emails, lots of news releases. David Vigiano. I'm guessing he's Italian. David Vigiano. David Vigiano, who works for a PR agency called O'Malley Hanson Communications out of Chicago. This says here that a group of lawyers issued a cease and desist letter to the Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association because, let's see. Why did they do this? All right. So this group of lawyers represents a small group of fighters that used to fight for the UFC. They didn't mention them per se, but it's got to be this group. It's John Fitch, Kung Lee, Nate Quarry, Brandon Vera, Javier Vasquez, and Kyle Kingsbury. Those 6 fighters. That's this little group of lawyers represents them, and so they issued the cease and desist against the MMA AA. It doesn't really say exactly why, but
Do you think it's because they don't want those change? They don't want to be more unionized? You think? Like, what would be the reason for them to cease and desist? Do they have something also going on themselves?
Well, okay, so that small group of fighters currently has a lawsuit against the
Okay,
UFC.
that makes sense. All right.
They currently do. And then if you look at the objectives of the MMA one of them is
The last one, right?
one of them is a settlement to compensate past and current UFC fighters for all of the UFC's wrongs. Well, the only way you get a settlement is, well, I mean,
Boom, right?
right. I mean, the UFC is not going to just hand over money. So you're going to have to sue them. So I think this first group is worried, like, whoa, wait a minute. We're suing the UFC. You can't sue the UFC.
We're going to sue you now.
Yeah. And I think I think they are they got bigger fish to fry. They need to worry about the UFC and not about the MMA. And it says here in this email, over a year ago, the lawyers reached out to the MMA and said, hey, let's join forces. But once the MMA said, here are our objectives, that's when this other group split and said, well, we're not interested. The lawyers made clear they did not share the MMA's vision. They are focused on short-term monetary recovery, of which they will seek 33%.
Yes, instead of 50.
Well, that's just what the lawyers want. Like say they get, let's just say they get $1 million from the UFC. Well, the lawyers are going to take 33% of that, and then the rest goes to those 6 fighters. And so then I was thinking, I kind of riffed on that, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they want 33% from that one lawsuit, and then if they sue the MMA then they're going to want 66%. They're going to want another 33%. You know, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's getting crazy.
Ted, why don't all these fighters get together and come up with one solution?
Yeah. No, and yeah, we've been saying this. It needs to be a unified front. Strength in numbers. Everybody needs to be on the same page. Whether it's the MMA, the PFA. Now, this thing is different because these guys are all former fighters or former UFC fighters. Now, one of those guys is still in the UFC. But according to my buddy Big Brown, Brendan Schaub, who blocked me on Twitter, he says there's at least, or by now there might be more than 200 fighters that have signed up for the MMA. So if you want to go strictly by numbers, that's God knows what the PFA is doing. So that's the place to be, it sounds like, the MMA. So if everybody could just kindly get involved with that, I think we'd be better off.
So I know that Brendan Schaub said that on the Fight Companion. Ariel asked Bjorn on Monday morning, like, is this true? How many fighters do you have behind you? He didn't feel comfortable enough to say because, Leslie Smith left the PFA because of similar circumstances of saying, oh, well, we got this fighter, that fighter. Well, my opinion, Ted, you got GSP on the forefront, Cain Velasquez, TJ Dillashaw, Ted Kennedy. I mean, the 200 fighters
Ted
behind
Kennedy.
you looks good, but those 4 or 5 names, man, it doesn't get better than that right now.
Now, and here's the other thing. Did you hear about Cowboy Cerrone? He kind of backed off a little bit because Dana White's like, oh, Cowboy's involved in this MMA. What the fuck? I gave that guy $100,000 when he was in trouble with the law. I got him the best lawyers I could find. I got him the best defense attorney, and now he's doing this. So Cowboy's like, well, geez, I didn't know that I was going to be part of some executive board when I got the call from GSP and Tim Kennedy. I didn't know, and so he's kind of backing down. He's kind of backpedaling from it.
I hope
he's like,
not.
And so it sounds like, okay, so Cowboy is already in Canada for 206, and he said, Dana White's coming to town. We're going to have dinner, and we're going to talk about things. So, I mean, that's good because, it sounds like Cowboy's going to stand his ground a little bit and say, look, this is what we need. We need a pension. We need health benefits. Da, 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 da. So maybe he's not totally backing down. I hope not.
A lot of way to end the year, though, man, with all these the lawyers and all these settlements going around, and I hope it does something good. I hope they don't spend too much time walking in circles on this one, and it takes forever for anything to happen like we saw in the past. But like we said in the last couple episodes, Ted, we're in the leather helmet era. This had to happen in every other sport industry. And we're watching it happen now, and we're a part of it. And everyone's voice in this means something. But to have people like GSP, Cowboy, if he stays on, it's all you really need is some big names to get behind you. And if they do have 200 fighters, we're getting there, man. It's only been a week since it's been announced. So I'm looking forward to that. Just to backpedal really quick, Ted, before we move on, we were talking about, Chuck Liddell being laid off. We were talking about Matt Hughes.
Right.
Rumors are Joe Rogan and Goldie.
Yes. That's true.
Which a lot of people will freak out about. This year we've seen Joe not at so many events because he got a new contract. There was rumors that he wasn't going to be part of it once the new owners. However, he is. But if you get rid of Joe Rogan, man, it's like a huge part of the family of the UFC, like that comfortable feeling of tuning into a pay-per-view and hearing Joe Rogan instead of not knowing who you're going to hear, if it's going to be Brian Stan or Dominic Cruz, or you know what I mean. You need Joe Rogan, you need Goldie, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, there's you're absolutely right. There's a familiarity with these guys, with Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg, because they've been around for so long. And despite their flaws, there are guys. You know what I mean? There are guys, and they're unique in their approach. They're not some cookie cutter announcer that you can find anywhere out there. They have a certain style, and we like that, I think. What I said was Goldie, for all his flaws, he's our Goldie, okay?
Yeah,
he's our Goldie. You know what I mean? We can make fun of him all we want. It's like when you have a little brother. You can beat on your little brother, but ain't nobody else gonna beat on your little brother. You know what I mean? He's my little brother. I'm the only guy that can beat him.
Put that. It's so true.
Right. He's our Goldie.
That's awesome.
We're virtually identical, and all that stuff. He's the Michael Jordan of BJJ. No, he's not. And all that stuff. So what? I mean, the guy screws up. So what? He's our Goldie.
And then you got Joe Rogan, which I understand he's been with them since, the first UFC, the dozen UFCs. His first one's like UFC 19 or something like that.
Something, yeah, he's been around for a long
Before
time.
That, he was the guy they interviewed backstage. But man,
right, when he had hair.
Yeah. He's been a part of this, and he's now doing the Fight Companions, which a lot of people are picking up on and tuning in while they have the fight cards. Joe Rogan could be right in his basement, puffing on some trees and broadcasting for you right there with Schaub, Eddie Bravo, and talk some Pizzagate. It's a stoner Fight Companion.
Okay,
you see Joe Rogan in his true elements.
So the deal is, I think I talked about. I asked you this before, but so you put the fights on. And then you turn down the volume on your TV, and then you turn this up.
Well, listen.
So you hear them commenting on the fights in real time as they happen, because you don't want to hear the little guy and Brian Stan,
well, not necessarily.
No.
No, it's not so much because you don't
want to hear.
Because it accompanies.
It's a companion.
Because no matter who's commentating that night, I was like hearing about the fighters, the research they've done, a little information that I can get out of it. I like watching the fights with the volume up, but a lot of people also like watching the Fight Companion on commercials. They'll turn it up because they don't talk that much about the fights, like at all. You know what I mean? They really don't.
What do they talk about?
What?
All sorts of random shit.
They do cover the fights, but it's just they're just hanging out, drinking, as if you came over to my house, we broke out a bottle of wine, we talked fights, but anything else that distracted us, we talk about. You know what I mean?
So it's for people who don't have friends, so they can imagine.
I'd rather sit at home and do that than go out to the bar and hear some asshole that knows nothing about the UFC.
I'm kidding. So like,
what I usually do, Ted, is I'll keep it really quiet, turn it up during commercials. The next day, I'll re-listen to it, and this week was hilarious. They were talking about the Pizzagate thing, which you started breaking out, talking to me about. What exactly is the Pizzagate, Ted? There's so many people that message me this week.
Oh my God!
What are you talking about? And what?
All right. Do you have an hour? All right. I'll see if I can give you the shortened version of it. Okay. It's a conspiracy theory.
Oh,
Okay?
wait, really quick before you say this. The only reason why we're doing this, guys, is because the fight companion was huge this week. Brian Callen and Eddie Bravo went back and forth, yelling at one another, anti-conspiracy and conspiracy. And that's how it really got brought up this week in the world of MMA.
Okay. So there's a conspiracy theory, and it's based on WikiLeaks. You're familiar with what WikiLeaks is, right? Julian Assange. Okay. So the WikiLeaks, John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager or whatever, that creepy dude, he is creepy. Even if none of this is true, he's still a creepy dude. Just looking at him. But anyway, John Podesta. So they got all his emails, or like however 30,000 of John Podesta's emails, and they started pumping them out every day for like a month. This was while the presidential campaign was going on. And in those emails, there was some type of connection to, well, there was like a code language that some people thought they discovered, where it was like pizza meant, I don't know, had something to do with pedophilia. I'll just say it like that. There were certain code words. Cheese meant something. Pizza meant something, and then somehow was traced back to this particular pizza parlor in the D.C. area that had actually some really weird,
controversial art on the walls, right?
Really weird images on their Instagram and based on photos taken from the place. Okay, so you got John Podesta somehow connected to this pizza shop along with his brother. I forget his name, but John Podesta and his brother. So people are thinking that these two guys
Podesta's pedophile pizza?
Hey, there you go. So these guys are pedophiles, and it's actually part of a larger human trafficking or modern day slavery.
That's the conspiracy, right?
Pedophilia ring that involves a lot of high-ranking political and business people. Now, connected with that is that whole spirit cooking thing. Did you hear about spirit cooking?
Nope. Well, let us know about that.
Okay, well, there's a woman named Marina Abramov. I think her name is Abramovich. She's, well, I guess you could call her a witch. She practices witchcraft. Some people say she's a witch. Other people say that she's a performance artist. She likes to like cut herself, and then she likes to make mixtures with blood and semen and breast milk and stuff like that.
This is going on now. This lady's around right now.
Yeah, she is. And she knows all of these top people.
Wow.
She actually, I think it was an email from her, from Marina to Podesta, saying, "Oh, you're coming over to my house." What, did you just find a picture of her?
No. I'm bringing people in through Snapchat. That's where Meridi's from. Meridi's close friends with me on Snapchat.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, good. So, anyway.
Sorry, Ted. I was trying to get letting people know what we're talking about so they can come over. Like we're talking about Pizzagate. Head over. That was it.
Come on down the rabbit hole with us.
Come on down. We're talking some Pizzagate.
So yeah, so this Marina Abramovich or Abramovic, she has these get-togethers, and apparently, or at least the rumor is that people partake of they drink this mixture of blood, semen, and breast milk.
Whose semen is it? It's obviously not hers. Where's she getting it?
I have no idea. I don't know who volunteered for that one.
And what pizza shop is she around? No, I'm kidding.
So she's somehow connected with this because of Podesta. Then you've got this other dude. I forget his name, but he owns an island somewhere, and apparently Bill Clinton has been to this island like 20-some times.
Martha's Vineyard?
No. It's like Pedophilia Island.
Oh God.
This guy apparently has all these young girls, or boys and girls.
Oh, Lord of the Flies Island.
Yeah, kind of. but girls too. And so Bill Clinton apparently has frequented the island numerous times, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So that's the whole. Yeah, Anne's funny. Talking some weird shit now. Yeah, right. I mean, you want weird shit? This is about as weird as it gets.
We got a little off topic. Only reason is because of that fight companion, guys. We'll get
Bill
back
and
to
Hillary
it.
Clinton are apparently involved in this pedophilia cabal, this global pedophilia group, or what, this mass conspiracy thing. I don't know. It's just crazy. It was on Reddit for a while.
Apparently,
okay?
it's been debunked.
Right.
Allegedly.
Reddit got rid of it. Reddit's like, you can't talk about this anymore. So it moved to another website called Vote, VOAT, like boat but with a V.
Yeah.
That's where it is. If you want to go down that some more, go to voat.com. I think it is.
That's
Vote.
what Eddie was saying. Or wait, didn't you tell us that last week?
I might have.
Is this website
No,
paying you, Ted?
I don't think we talked about it.
Ted's got some inside deal with Vote.
I don't think we talked about Pizzagate last week though.
No, but for some reason you brought that site up. I think we were talking about something weird again. I don't know how it keeps coming up, but
Oh no, I told you on Twitter.
that's right.
I gave you the link on Twitter.
In the Pure Evil Army. Okay.
Right. So nobody knows if any of this stuff. To me, it just reminded me of. Did you ever see Eyes Wide Shut? It's a Tom Cruise movie.
I feel like I have.
But it's like no Tom Cruise movie that you. I actually like. I think it's a pretty good movie. It was Stanley Kubrick's last movie. Stanley Kubrick, the guy who did 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Love that.
He did A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Didn't he do One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Another good one.
And Full Metal Jacket, I think. Anyway, that was Stanley Kubrick's last film. Tom Cruise is in it. There's that one famous scene where Cruise gets into this mansion, this opulent mansion, where everybody's in a black cloak and a mask. And he says the code word and he gets in, and then, there's all these orgies going on and everything. And, you haven't seen that, huh?
I don't think so.
That's what it kind of reminded me. It's a secret society, and he tries to break into it, but then he doesn't have the right code word, so they find him out, and they give him the boot. They kick his ass out of there. But it's like they've got like all the women are dimes. Every one of them is like a model. Is a 10, all the way. And then you got, of course, again, then you got the crusty old white dudes, who are multimillionaires or whatever.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. Except we're talking with Pizzagate. It's talking about like pedophilia, which is absolutely disgusting.
So this is connected to Hillary Clinton. This is her campaign guy.
Yeah,
brother.
Yeah, John Podesta.
Okay.
Yep.
And if you guys want to watch the Fight Companions, this is pretty much what they talk about. This is what they talked about this week on Joe Rogan Fight Companion. I watched it almost. I watched it 1.5 times through, Ted, because I was just cracking up the entire time. All right, so moving on. In case you guys are just tuning in, this is an MMA show, not a conspiracy show.
Yeah.
You're listening to Evil IntoxicaTED, episode number 25 with Evil Eddie and Ted Check. We covered Ultimate Fighter season 25 4 finale. We covered Randy Couture being stopped by the UFC going to court. We talked about Chuck Liddell being kicked out of the UFC and Matt Hughes. We talked about Joe Rogan and Goldie possibly leaving. We talked about Chris Cyborg turning on two title fights. Ted, what's next?
Well, I just want one more thing about the whole MMA Athletes Association.
Okay, yeah.
Bjorn Rebney got on Twitter. It was basically just one tweet, but he went after Dana White. He tweeted Dana White and he said, "You pay fighters 8%. Shame on you. No benefits, no pension. You should be ashamed of yourself." Dana White, I think, responded with, that, or maybe even, I think it was after the official announcement of the MMA AA. He called him Bjork instead of Bjorn. He said Bjork is the biggest scumbag in combat sports history or whatever. He's the biggest scumbag in all of combat sports. He didn't present anything to back that up. I mean, we know that a lot of people don't like Bjorn Rebney. King Mo, for one, was like, well, those guys better be careful because Bjorn Rebney's going to screw them. And then Smiling Sam Alvey was like, ooh, I don't know about joining this organization because I don't trust Bjorn Rebney. So far, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving the guy a clean slate, and I just think if he's got any brains, he is not going to try to screw these guys. Because Tim Kennedy will kill him. Tim Kennedy's the sniper, for God's sake. Or any one of those guys. They'll just murderize him. You know what I mean?
Tim Kennedy said we kind of needed his. He's like the better of two evils. Like you kind of needed him.
Repeat thing going on there.
What?
You were repeating. It was like an echo.
I know. I was sending out a tweet for everybody to tune in.
All right.
But that was actually your voice repeating. But like you were just like you were just saying, Tim Kennedy said that we kind of needed Bjorn. We needed like that side of evil, and like you addressed early in the show, and we addressed last week. Bjorn said that if these fighters don't want me to be a part of this, I'll leave. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, in a way, it's kind of, I don't know if I want to say it's advantageous, but I mean, he gets under Dana White's skin.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny to see, that he can kind of take some of the heat off the fighters themselves. He can go after Dana White on Twitter and stuff like that, and those two can go back and forth and lock horns, and maybe take some of the heat off the fighters. That's
a great point. I mean, he's there to pretty much
hopefully
figure out what redirect some of the ideas he said.
Right.
Anyways, there's 2 fights coming out this weekend. UFC Albany and Derek Lewis's fight in, I cannot pronounce this dude's last name.
All right, you want to know how to pronounce it?
Can you break that out, down for us, Ted?
Abdurakhimov.
There you go.
Abdurakhimov.
That was a strong one. All right.
Yeah, because here's what you got to remember: the V, when a Russian name ends with a V, that's like a double F or just an F.
Okay.
Because it looks like Mauve, but it's not Abdurakhimov. It's Abdurakhimov.
He's from the same place that Habib's from.
Dagestan.
Yeah.
It's a little shithole of a country. It's a little war-torn crap hole of a country. No offense to any Dagestanis, but I mean, it's kind of like that's why they're so tough. I mean, if you can survive Dagestan, you can survive anywhere. So
Ted,
props to those guys.
Let's start really quick. Derek Lewis really is seems to me he's taking over this division. He's an exciting fighter to watch. People are starting to understand him. He does great on social media. He goes in there. His last fight, I'm pretty sure, was against Roy Nelson. He did an amazing job in that fight. Did a lot better than I thought he would do. Ends up getting the win. And now he's fighting somebody that we don't really know. And I hope that Derek Lewis isn't underestimating this dude just because he doesn't know his name or can't pronounce it. It would be a setback if he loses to a nobody.
Well, and in all fairness, I mean, Shamil Abdurakhimov, he has 2 fights. He's on a 2-fight win streak. I think, these 2 fights in the UFC. So his 2 fights in the UFC, he's won by a unanimous decision and split decision. So, you look at that and you go, oh well, geez, he's a decision type fighter, but 17-3 overall. And, he is, he seems to be, a fairly exciting, tough fighter,
Is this a good idea to have them in a 5-round fight, though, for a main event? I mean, we've seen in the past what happens with these big guys in 5 rounds.
I don't think it's going to go 5 rounds. Do you? I don't think so.
I mean, he couldn't take Roy Nelson out in 3, and he was getting pretty tired.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's the heavyweights for one thing, and Derek Lewis is I mean, guy's got some heavy hands, so he's going to be looking to knock this guy out, Abdurakhimov, and even though Abdurakhimov has a ground game, I believe he's trained in judo and in most of those guys in Dagestan have more than likely they have a sambo background, and sambo is Fedor's main ground fighting art. It's a combination of throws and takedowns, submissions. It's not really like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, there's similar movements, similar submissions, but it's more like a judo mixed with like a catch wrestling. That's what I would describe it as. Like you mainly want to be on top, as like a wrestler with submissions.
Yeah. So how do you think he's gonna do well in this fight? Because Derek Lewis, man, one punch from him can take anyone out, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy Abdurakhimov is probably going to want to take it to the ground.
Well, Derek Lewis did pretty good on the ground against Roy Nelson. We know Roy Nelson's great on the ground, and Derek did phenomenal against somebody that isn't Roy Nelson. He's pretty high up there, and
he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
That's what I thought.
Doesn't really rely on it too much. I mean, he loves to knock people out, but he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt for sure. Yeah, Minion is saying here, Albany is about showcasing Lewis and Ngannou, which that's the co-main event.
Yep.
Francis Ngannou.
Hamilton and Ngannou.
UFC hoping they both win to set up a fight between the two of them.
That's perfect. I love that idea.
It makes sense. Makes sense.
Well, remember, Ted, originally Derek Lewis was supposed to fight somewhere else, and he got on the plane, went all the way down there to fight, and then they called it off. That was supposed to be...
that was in the Philippines.
Right? That was the BJ Penn versus...
Right.
Versus Lamas? Ricardo Lamas?
I think so.
Right?
But yeah, it was going to be a fight night in the Philippines.
So they had to reimburse him somehow, and this is the perfect way to do it. Ngannou going up against Hamilton. Ngannou's doing great, man. He's only lost one fight. He's been doing an amazing job in the UFC. Hamilton, on the other hand, 15-5 record. That's going to be a great fight. And if Francis loses here, it's going to be a huge setback in his case too. These are two stars that you want to really build their case, and that it will set that fight up perfectly there. In my opinion, though, I think Derek Lewis can do better for finding a different opponent, but that's probably what they're going to do, is set him up with Francis if they both win.
So yeah,
to me it seems like he's moving backwards, going from Roy Nelson. You know what I'm saying there?
The only thing I can think of is that this guy, I keep saying this guy, Abdurakhimov, was available. That's the only thing. That's the only conclusion I can come to, is that he was the guy that was available.
That he didn't mind taking this fight.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he obviously is not afraid of Derek Lewis. I bet you there's some people out there who are, and but he wasn't, and he was available and healthy. So he took the fight. That's the only thing I can come up with. Ngannou, like you were saying, 8-1. Yeah, he's 8-1. He's actually on a 7-fight win streak.
Brutal.
Three in the UFC. 3 fights in the UFC. 2 of those TKOs. One's a knockout. You look at Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton's hot and cold. Like, you
3
see
and
that a
3
lot
in
in this division.
3 and 3 in the UFC. Loss win, loss win, loss win. So if you go by that, he's due for another loss. But you just never know. This is the heavyweights. Sometimes it's whoever puts the fist to the chin first. Edward Carbajal. This guy is easier to say. It's so true. This guy is so much easier to say than Abdurakhimov.
Shout out to Eddie. Thanks for tuning in, brother. I cannot wait to make the full transition over to frontproofmedia.com. I'm looking forward to that.
Is that his site?
Yeah, he's part of the community there. He's in charge of the MMA news and articles and stuff like that, helping me out. Moving from Professional Wrestling Authority, the website I was just at. I'm moving to Front Proof Media,
Right.
like I told everybody. Me and Ted show will be on the iTunes channel, so you'll be able to get Pure Evil MMA with Evil Intoxicated every week. The new podcast will be dropping tonight, guys. I'll be doing it live tomorrow morning in case you want to tune in for that. Ted, also on this card, though, really quick, Ashley Yoder. We saw her from the Ultimate Fighter, Joanna versus Claudia season, one of my favorite fighters on the season. All of my listeners know that. She's going up against Kish. This is going to be a great fight. I love when the girls get in there. I don't care even what girl it is. I love seeing any girl fight because we discussed this in the past. It's almost like they have more to prove than the guys. They always put on a great show. So definitely keep your eyes on this young girl. She's going to be the new era of fighting in the females division, Ashley Yoder. So my fingers are crossed. She has a very similar story to me, losing somebody very close to her in her life and then coming back to wind up on top. So I'm rooting for Yoder. And also on this card, Kamosi, his little brother is going to be on this card.
Oh, okay.
Brian
Kamosi. The one that I was looking at was Corey Anderson versus Sean O'Connell.
Yeah, there you go.
That's third down from the top.
Yep.
Corey Anderson, the owner of the possibly the worst nickname in MMA, Beastin'25-8. Beastin'25-8.
You talk about that every other episode.
Day.
His nickname.
There's only 24 hours in a day. There's only 7 days in a week, but he's 25-8.
Didn't he end up on the top of your list when we did that fun segment, best and worst fighter names? Wasn't it that like your top?
He wasn't, and then the other guy, nonstop action packed.
And then remember the name, Bilal, my boy Bilal.
Yeah, that's another one. Got to go. But anyway,
it's better than Pitbull. I think Pitbull ended up as number one worst name, right?
Well, just because everybody's a Pitbull.
Because everybody's a Pitbull.
Well, that and an assassin. You got your young assassin. You got your black assassin. You got I don't know, every kind of assassin you can imagine. Assassin. But anyway, so yeah, Corey Anderson taking on Sean O'Connell.
He's coming off a loss. Coming off a loss to Shogun.
Anderson coming off of a loss to Shogun, and he's a bit of a decision machine, bit of a kind of a lay in prayer kind of dude. Sean O'Connell coming off of two losses. He's on a 2-loss skid, a knockout to Ilir Latifi, and then a unanimous decision to Steve Basset.
Yeah, man, but don't forget, this dude's got great wrestling and a lot of power behind his punch. And if you're going against somebody that got decisions, I always say this too, just because he's got a decision doesn't mean he's not good at fighting. It means he's a tough son of a bitch.
Oh, I mean, no, that fight with Steve Basset was a war.
Brutal war. That was one of our favorite fights. We reviewed that. That stood out. They were just going back and forth with one another. It was almost like an Arlovsky Brown fight.
Hey, check. Here's a fun fact about Sean O'Connell. He's a radio personality as well.
Nice.
In Utah, he's on an ESPN radio show called the Bill and OC Show. So he must be OC. Yo, OC. The Bill and OC Show. Oh, okay. Hey, MMA A-holes.
Hey, Chris, what's going on, brother?
Oh, Chris. I would just call him Chris. Yeah. Is it me or is Bjorn Rebney a complete tool bag? Yeah, he kind of is because he blocked me on Twitter for no reason. I mean, apparently he's very thin-skinned. I probably said something about him in one of my videos, but I can't even remember what it was. But I was on Reddit the other day, and some other random Reddit person was like, "Oh yeah, he blocked me." So apparently he likes to block people. I don't know.
We have freedom of speech, but apparently not on Twitter or Facebook or.
Well, if it's your account, you can do whatever you want with it, right?
Yeah.
You can block whoever you want. I just think it's kind of silly. I don't think I've ever blocked anybody, no matter what they said about me. Mm-hmm.
Well, you want to hear something funny? I just blocked my girlfriend's best friend. You want to know why?
Well, wait, this is a chick with the dreads?
Yeah. Good call.
Yeah. Why'd you
I just blocked her because I was at we were downtown in the city, and we had a little disagreement. I said she was being rude, and she said something to me and left me in the city.
Wait, say I'm sorry. Tell me again.
Got in a little argument.
Yeah.
I told her stop being rude. She said something to me and left me in the city with no ride. Just took off and left.
So she was your ride.
Blocked.
She was your ride.
Oh yeah, she was my ride and left me in the city.
Oh, that's not cool.
So that's a reason to block a bitch. Oh, you're blocked. You're
No,
blocked.
that's low. That's low.
That thing is though, I blocked her yesterday, but I saw her this morning.
So yeah,
even though I did that, doesn't mean shit.
yeah, you can block her virtually. You just can't block her physically.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've resorted to the Hillary Clinton thing. I'm just giving the silent treatment.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That's messed up, man. You don't leave somebody in the city.
No, that's low. That's absolutely low. No, you can't do that. Hey, at the very least, she should have given you money for Uber.
No, listen, like, I wouldn't care if I had nothing to do, but as a professional MMA correspondent, and I got interviews lined up and shit like that.
Oh, I got a schedule to keep here. I got shit to do.
I got stars to interview, man. What are you doing? So I thought about something.
Respect.
Let me know if this is messed up, guys. Well, I'm going to say this really quick. We can move on to MMA news. Is it wrong of me to want to do something crazy like throw a dead fish under her car seat or something, or pour out, a thing of garlic under her seat or something? Is that messed up? Is that
How about banana in the tailpipe?
I mean, I cursed her with the evil eye, but sometimes it's not enough.
Okay, I got it. Flaming bag of poo on her doorstep.
The old Tommy boy.
Flaming bag of poo.
The old Tommy boy.
It still works.
A funny story about that one too, Ted. One time, one of my friends thought it'd be funny to drop a present in my driveway, all wrapped up, say, to Eddie from Grandma, and with a bow wrapped up and everything. My stepfather was like, "What the hell is this? God rest his soul. What the hell is it?" He thought it was like pot or something. Who knows? A bottle of alcohol. Opens it up, dude. It was a human feces.
A turd.
It was a turd.
It was a log.
It was a turd. My stepdad got a huge laugh out of it. Oh, thank God.
He got a laugh out of it.
He got a laugh out of it. He used to wake up at like 5 a.m., so it was a 5 a.m. morning whiff of human shit.
Well, good thing he didn't touch it, though. God.
But yeah, that was just a quick little update of what goes on in the Evil Eddie, in the reality of Evil Eddie over here on the East Coast.
Anna's suggesting a can of tuna. Crack open a can of tuna and then hide it in her car where she can't see it.
That's what I'm thinking of doing. Because I thought it would be too mean to like pop a tire. I don't want to do anything like that. You put something that smells in the car, it's like, gotcha. Right?
Yeah, man. The banana in the tailpipe.
Why? What does that do?
I think it kind of backs up the
the exhaust. Kill her. Ted, I'm not
No. Watch Beverly Hills Cop. You didn't see Beverly Hills Cop? That's what he did to these other two cops that were tailing him. He put the banana in the tailpipe.
Ted's like, give her cyanide. Bro, I'm not trying to kill the girl.
The next time they saw him, the one guy's like, "Yeah, we're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe again."
Great. But yep, if you guys want to give me a follow on Snapchat, I know they got a lot of Snapchat followers. Before we get into any MMA, quick tags. Snapchat, if you guys want to follow me, Evil Eddie or at Blinks812. That's BLINKZ 812. You can follow me on Instagram at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Twitter, the handle's right over there at Pure Evil MMA. Follow Ted on YouTube. Ted releases some great videos, quick, short, to the point, and controversial. Apparently, according to Bjorn, Brendan Schaub. Wait, did Rhonda block you? Or
no, she has not blocked me. I thought she might, and same thing with Tyron Woodley. I thought he would block me.
Beck Rawlings has blocked Ted.
Here's why Tyron Woodley. I tweeted him. I actually tweeted him this week because he was saying, who was it? Oh, he was talking about Anthony Johnson, and he was saying, well, Anthony Johnson only missed weight once or something like that, and it was totally false. I looked at his record. AJ missed weight like 3 or 4 times. And so I tweeted that out. I tweeted that to him, and I hashtagged it fact check.
You're saying.
He never even responded. I guess I'm too low. I guess I'm too much of a schlub.
A lot of people, if you don't have that blue check mark, man, they don't even talk to you.
Oh, God. Well, I'm going to apply for mine.
I applied for mine. Sometimes it could take a week to 8 weeks to 12 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know what it depends on. I mean, how many followers you have, or how active you
Well,
are, or
well, it has a little bit to do with everything. Like if you're in a position like us, I mean, you don't want somebody to make a fake profile of you and then talk shit about fighters and make you look bad. So you got to give like a reason why. Because if you're in the position
no.
of us, you don't want to
Yeah.
look bad because somebody makes a freaking fake
No.
profile. If you have that check mark, you're like, that's a fake.
I'll talk shit on fighters myself. I don't need anybody else to do it. Anyway, so you want to move on to 206?
Yeah, let's move on to UFC
The big one. Yes, sir. UFC 206 in Toronto, right?
Correct.
Toronto, Canada?
Yep, in Toronto at the Air
Yeah.
Canada Center.
So, should we go with? Should we start down and move up? You want to do
Yeah,
it that
definitely,
way?
without a doubt. I mean, we got some great fighters on this card, Ted, between Max Holloway, Showtime Pettis, Cowboy versus Matt Brown, Cub Swanson's on this card. Look, Tim Kennedy, Gaslam, finally.
Oh yeah. Ann definitely wants us to talk about Cowboy. But let's see. Yeah, before we do that,
Valerie Letourneau's on this card.
let's start with Kennedy versus Gastelum.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this was the fight that, it was going to be Tim Kennedy versus Rashad Evans. Rashad Evans was not medically cleared. Something having to do with, Tim Kennedy said he was possibly suffering from brain damage. God, I hope not. But something's going on there with an MRI that Rashad Evans underwent. Something about and then somebody said, was it you or somebody else said, oh, it's an old
childhood injury.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just wondering why has it only come to the surface now after all this time? I don't know. I'm a bit suspicious, skeptical, whatever. But yeah, this should be an exciting fight if Kelvin Gastelum can make weight.
Big, huge issue right there.
Well, I mean, that's when he was a welterweight. This is going to be contested at middleweight. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he should be okay for 185. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Looking at these fighters, Tim Kennedy, well-rounded guy, probably better on the ground than he is on the feet. And then you got Kelvin Gastelum, a great wrestler who has also taken to his hands. You know, kind of to me, I look at Gastelum and he kind of reminds me of Johnny Hendricks. He's kind of cut from that mold. A wrestler who then develops his hands. He
can use his hands with knockout power, but his forte is wrestling. That's what got him to the dance.
You got it. That's right. That's how I would describe him. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting fight. Tim Kennedy's kind of a question mark in my opinion because he's just been so inactive. Now we interviewed Tim's training partner, Shane Steiner, and Shane's like, look, Tim all year round is training. He's not like some of these fighters who, they take time off. Tim Kennedy's training 3 times a day, every day, or just about every day, all year round, whether he has a fight or whether he doesn't have a fight. It's just in his nature. He's a warrior, and so that's what he does. Because it's just saddled with so much energy, dude's got to get it out.
Yeah.
But, he hasn't fought in like 2 years, right? He hasn't fought since Stoolgate, since Yoel Romero. Kelvin Gastelum's been a bit more active. So I'm just wondering if that's going to come into play at all. But I'm leaning towards Tim Kennedy.
Yeah, man, his last fight was the Stoolgate in 2014 against Yoel Romero. But before that, man, he beat Bisping, he beat Rafael Natal.
Right. Yeah.
He beat Rory Gracie.
I think Kennedy has the advantage, in terms of being the more well-rounded fighter and just more experienced, I think, than Gastelum.
What do you think is going to happen to Gastelum if he does lose this? Because he's kind of in the doghouse, if you ask me, missing all this weight. He did win against, oh God, you just said his name.
Yeah, Johnny Hendricks.
He just beat Johnny Hendricks. That was a huge fight for him, but now he's in a tough place again. Tim Kennedy is a mother effer to go in there and to try to get a win over. And if he does, it'll be like, all right, he did have some problem in the past with some weight, but this dude can scrap. He just took out Tim Kennedy. The question is, will Tim fight again if he loses? Because like you just said, we had an interview with one of his training partners. He said he's making more money out of the octagon than he is staying in there. I actually started catching the show, Ted, that he's on, Hunting Hitler. Actually,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Tim has lots of other interests aside from MMA, but, you know, the only thing I can point to is, you know, he just got involved in the MMA Athletes Association, so would it look right if he then left? I don't know.
No, it
wouldn't
look right at all. You need
like,
Tim in there.
Yeah, I would think, you know, if you're going to put your face out there and say, hey, I'm one of the, you know, 5 guys that kind of started this whole thing, only to just turn around and jet, yeah, it doesn't.
Ted, listen, we were talking about this before. Tim is going to be the biggest key, other than GSP's name. Tim Kennedy is going to be the huge key to unlock a lot of these fighters who are on the fence of being like, I don't know, you got Bjorn there. You just had Brandon Schaub, who announced, you know, they got 200 fighters behind him, apparently, to side over with them. And a lot of us trust somebody like Tim Kennedy, who fought for a country. He's a stand-up guy, speaks what's on his mind. He's open. Like, if he stands for something, someone's like, well, what about this, this, and that? Like, oh, well, all right. You know, he's not stubborn. So this is going to be a deciding factor for a lot of the fighters. You need somebody like him. It would be real messed up if he walked away.
The other thing is he still he feels, since he has a victory over Bisping, he thinks he should be the next contender. Now there's a lot of guys ahead of him, but beating Kelvin, you know, I don't know if that's going to do too much for Kennedy. I mean, and even beating Rashad wouldn't have done so much, because Rashad, that would have been Rashad's first fight at middleweight. Yeah. So Kennedy needs to, you know, needs to jump up. You know, I mean, I did a video, I think it was just today, on Robert Whittaker. He is going to be fighting a top 5. He's currently sitting at number 6, but Dana White said he's going to be fighting a top 5 opponent in Las Vegas as soon as he gets healthy and can get into training camp. So we're probably looking at the spring. So it's either going to be Mousasi, who's at 5, or who's at number 4? Weidman's at 4, I think.
Yep, Weidman's at 4. Jacare at 3.
Jacare at 3. Rockhold at 2. Romero's at 1. But we know Romero is fighting Bisping in the spring. Rockhold is injured, right?
Yep.
Jacare kind of just, sitting there waiting for Rockhold, or maybe not.
Jacare, they might be facing Gegard. I wouldn't be surprised, or Anderson Silva. I wouldn't be surprised.
But if Whittaker's fighting a top 5, that can only mean.
Imagine if they give Whittaker Silva. That would be Silva's last fight if he lost against Whittaker.
Anderson Silva's below the top 5. He's not in the top 5.
Oh shit.
And Dana White's saying, I mean, you know, take that for what it's worth. It's Dana White. We can't trust the guy.
The day has come where Anderson Silva.
Let's take Dana White at his word. So it's either going to be Mousasi, Weidman, or Jacare, probably. That's amazing for Robert Whittaker, 25 years old, and on a 6-fight win streak. So anyway, you go back to Kennedy. Kennedy is, I forget where he's ranked exactly, but he's below.
Right there at number 10, and Gastelum at 11.
Okay. So Kennedy, you know, is all right, but he's got a few more fights to go. But I think he wants to continue winning until he wants to fight Bisping again. Because he's like, hey, look, I already beat the brakes off of him once.
Yep.
You know?
I feel like everyone thinks that, though. Like, but Bisping, man, he's changed his camp since then. He's improved his striking since then. And he's caught some pretty lucky situations as well to be where he's at. He's been pretty lucky. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from his skill or his improvement, but the situations with the belt and everything, Dan Henderson, everything, been lucky.
I think his luck's going to run out with Romero.
It could.
The other thing with Bisping is he's kind of on this this quasi. It's like a revenge tour. Plus he's trying to rid the whole division of steroid users.
Yeah.
Like how he was making fun of Romero. Like putting the needle in his butt.
Yeah.
And I love you, Mike. I love you.
Hey, Mikey, I love you.
See you, boy. I see you. But like he's saying, he was on roids, and who else? He wants to. Didn't he want to fight Vitor again?
Yeah.
Right. Because Vitor was on the TRT. It's like he wants to rid the whole division, or he wants to beat everybody who's been on steroids. But he wanted a crack at Hendo because Hendo had a win over him.
And I'm happy that happened. None of us can say that we're not happy that happened.
And Hendo was on TRT at one point. What happened? Happy
that they actually got to fight before Hendo retired.
Oh yeah. Yes, I was going back and forth with somebody on YouTube about that. They were saying, "Oh, that's not fair that Henderson was given that shot." And I said, "Look, the UFC doesn't go by its rankings anymore. Not most of the time it doesn't. It looks at fights on a case-by-case basis, like what is the fight that's going to get the most money, the bang for the buck. That's what they're looking at. And like Hendo,
a lot lately,
right? That's the what I mean, right or wrong. That's where we're at right now.
That's where we're at right now, man. And not to mention, Ted, if you look at the actual all-time rankings, Dan Henderson's like number 1 or 2 for that division.
Right, and he had a win over Bisping. He had, I would say, a knockout of epic proportions. It was a highlight reel knockout over Bisping, and so you already had that kind of that grudge match, that hype built into it.
And he was to get that match. Dan Henderson was owed that for his last fight.
I mean, yeah, right, and Bisping. We saw the heat there. Because remember when Bisping and Rockhold were going at it, and Hendo just kind of shot him that look. This was at the post-fight presser.
Yeah, after
and
Rockhold
was like looking at him like, just shut your mouth, you idiot. So it was already there. The hype was there. And I mean, that's the UFC. Like it or not, that's the UFC. Like, look at UFC 205. I thought it should have been Conor versus Aldo. So that he could defend the featherweight title.
But they went for the money, making the.
But they went for the money.
Division.
They went for history, because Conor, had that opportunity to be the first dual weight champion, and I think it paid off for them. We don't know the final numbers, but we know it did really well. As far as the gate, they broke the gate record. Pay-per-view, I don't know if they beat 202, but I know they did really well. Anyway, so Tim Kennedy versus Gastelum, Cub Swanson versus Do Ho Choi. What do you think of that?
All right, finally, Cub is not on a UFC Fight Pass card. He's not on the prelim cards. He's back on the freaking main card. He might not be co-main event. He might not be main event. But Cub Swanson is making a comeback like his WEC days here. He won his last fight. I thought he looked amazing there. He kind of sharpened it up. Like, he usually dips around like really low in his fight, and he gets caught a lot. In his last fight, he really cleaned that up. I'm interested to see what he does here. He needs the win. He's still one of the top contenders in that division. Very dangerous guy. He did lose to Max Holloway, though. I was shocked by Max Holloway's performance that night. But Cub Swanson's been coming back ever since. Great matchup. If he loses, though, it throws him in a scary pond. Kind of taking a step forward and 3 steps back.
Yeah, and this guy Do Ho Choi, there's a lot of there's a groundswell of hype behind this guy.
He's only got 1 loss. This dude's dangerous.
Right, people he's got a lot of eyes on him right now. People are looking at him as a hot prospect, and he's I think I saw a quote from him today saying, "Hey, anybody I touch with this hand, boom, they're out."
Well, you know what it is, Ted. He attempts a lot. He throws a lot of punches in bunches.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's kind of it's like throwing the spaghetti on the wall, and some of it's got to stick. You throw enough punches, but no, but I mean, he's a scary individual. And I was saying that I wasn't sure about his ground game, and I had people on my YouTube channel saying, no, 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 don't sleep on this guy's ground game. He's got a good ground game. I was thinking that maybe that was kind of his kryptonite. If you were, to say where he was deficient, maybe that was where he was, and people were jumping on me about that. So I think I'm going to go with the kid. I'm going to go with Doo-Ho Choi over Cub Swanson.
Well, here's the thing. He might have a great record, Ted, but don't forget, look at the last couple of people that he fought compared to the last couple of people that Cub fought. If you're looking at like that, Cub definitely, without a doubt, fought some of the tougher individuals. He's more of the veteran here, in my opinion. This is going to be a huge test for your boy Choi.
I'm willing to take that chance.
All right. It would be huge, because if all that hype is really true about Choi, and he gets a win over a veteran fighter like Cub Swanson.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's going
to legend. Man, I mean, you can't argue, because Swanson right now is 4th in the division.
Woo. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if that would be. See, these whole rankings things. We know that the UFC doesn't really go by them much, but we can't help but as analysts, we can't help but look at these things.
Well, it's your go-to. It should be a real thing, your go-to, and it should all be legit. If you're going to have it, make it legit.
And so, yeah, so my question is, if Doo-Ho Choi beats Cub Swanson, does he actually take his place in the rankings? Or I don't know where he is. Where is he right now?
At 11.
Okay, so 11. That's outside the top 10. So we know a win would move him into the top 10, but does it move him all the way up to the top 5? Does he supplant?
No way.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but then you can make the argument, well, geez, he beat Swanson. How is it that Swanson is still up above him?
Well, Swanson's been on the rise. Let's not forget, he was down a lot further than this in his last 3 fights ago. If you look back, I think he was ranked like 13th, 14th in the division. He's just recently making a comeback. It's surprising that he is at number 4. I mean, I'm not surprised if all of y'all are surprised that he's at number 4, because I certainly am. I could see him at like a 6. 4, but then again, Conor McGregor is taken out of the division. Everybody moves up a spot. If you guys want to see the real ranking report, check out Minion's video. Every Thursday, he releases an update on all the UFC rankings, all the recent matchups, and what has changed in each division. So if you want to understand how those divisions and the rankings are working, check out Minion's page.
Yeah, I noticed that the featherweight rankings, it's the only time I've ever seen this where pretty much everybody had a little arrow pointing up next to their name, because they all moved up a spot because Conor got removed.
To the side.
What?
What? Everyone's moving on up.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. We're moving on up.
Yep.
To the top. All right, I got you now. I'm with you.
All right, good.
You had me for a second there.
All right, so I'm taking Cub Swanson on that, Ted. We're going to bash heads that night. I can't wait to find out. This is going to be an exciting card. And after that, Cowboy Cerrone versus Matt Brown. This is going to be one hell of an all-out war. That first round, man.
Let me bang, bro.
This is going to be nuts. A Cowboy at the weight that he's at right now is just going to kill dudes. And Matt Brown has been having a hard time lately. Another very tough opponent for Matt. But if anyone can take out Cowboy, we're going to throw Matt Brown in there. I mean, Matt Brown's a son of a b. Both these guys are tough cookies. But Brown's been on kind of a slower
he seems like he's kind of in the gatekeeper position.
Don't take anything away from him, though, because those are some weird circumstances.
I love watching the guy fight.
Damian Maia, look what he just did to Carlos. I mean, and he had a pretty rough time down in Brazil as well. And then the last fight against Ellenberger, it was very strange, that fight. Yeah. So coming off of 2 losses, that's a tough position to be in. Yeah.
For Matt Brown. I mean, it's possible if he loses this one, they might, give him his pink slip.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
I mean, yeah, he's been there for the UFC. He's put his time in.
You know what? Maybe he would do great in Bellator.
Another 170. Oh my God! If they, that Bellator's already stacking their 170
Yeah,
division. That's their best division.
it is.
I don't know if the UFC would want to let Matt Brown go. Just for that reason alone. But WME, IMG, man, they are just I think any opportunity that they can find to, like I said before, trim the fat, they're going to do it. So maybe they're going to have a hard and fast rule. Any fighter with 3 losses, so that they can bring. I think they're going to try to bring their number down. Like how many fighters do they have?
500.
They probably want to get that like around 400 or something.
Yeah, well,
because
you see a lot of inactivity.
Right, and they're going to reduce the number of events, right? Remember we talked about that?
That would save a lot of money, and that would be great for the other organizations as well. I mean, as much as it hurts when you see, oh, this one was released, this one was released. I mean, we see it in a lot of fighters. Look at Angela Hill, where she's at right now. She was in the UFC and then didn't do too well. They goes to Invicta, now she's the champion. We see this a lot with guys, except Benson Henderson, of course.
Well, I mean, hey, he can still rebound. I mean, he had 2 title fights.
Title shots, yeah, against 2 very, very tough opponents.
Absolutely, yeah.
But Donald Cowboy Cerrone, let me just clear this up in case you guys missed last week's show. His eye, that is fake. The tattoo on his neck is all fake, guys. It has nothing to do with reality. I don't know what it's about, what it's for. Maybe a movie or attention. People are saying it's for attention, but honestly, I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's brought up a lot of publicity. People are like, "What's going on with Cowboy?" It's not real. It's not real. Relax.
But here, I could probably, hopefully, shed a little bit of light, or maybe some more confusion on the whole thing.
Okay.
So he is definitely filming something. It's called I think it's called Ungodly or Godless. It's something like that. It's a mini series for Netflix. It's actually about cowboys.
Hey,
like I'm talking about, back in the 1850s or whatever, in the Wild West.
Hell yeah.
And his character is part of a group of robbers, train robbers or whatever. So that's probably what that was all makeup.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing is, he went to the MMA AA meeting with all that shit on.
Took a legendary photo that will go down in history with the eye.
Yeah, he's even got like a butterfly strip up here.
Yeah, that's great.
And but the tattoo, tattoos, they weren't really doing a lot of neck tattoos back in the 1860s or whatever, back in the Wild West.
Yeah.
And that's BMF. That's his bad mother effer ranch.
Yep.
That's his ranch.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe the tattoo was real.
It could be on his wallet too. You never know.
I thought the tattoo was real, but then I saw on his Instagram there was another. He did a little video on there where he doesn't have all the makeup and the fake cuts, but he does have like a black eye. So I thought maybe he got that in training, and then he got the makeup for the TV show.
That's strange.
I don't know.
That's strange.
But he was like totally in character though. Like he's really embracing this whole acting thing, because he got on Instagram. He's like, oh, look at this, and my eye, and the doctors were able to save my eye. I'm still gonna fight at 206. All that. Like he was like really trolling people hard.
That's great.
But back to the fight, Cerrone versus Brown. I mean, he's ever since he moved to welterweight,
He's a monster.
He's a monster. He's unstoppable. 3-fight win streak, a submission, and 2 TKOs. So, and against good guys, Alex Oliveira, Patrick Cote, Rick Story.
Last loss was RDA. He can't take those big moments.
Well, we'll see, but I think he's going to be able to. What?
Joe Rogan mentioned this too. You're seeing a diminished Cowboy at that weight at 155. You're not seeing Cowboy at his full potential.
Oh, I always wonder. I mean, the guy's 6'1". I was like, he's like a toothpick at 155. So, but yeah, he's allowed to fill out and be more natural at 170.
This is a great fight for Matt Brown if they stay banging. But I think Matt's going to find a little trouble once he gets to the ground with Cowboy.
Yeah, and Matt Brown is no slouch on the ground either. But I don't know. I see Cerrone winning it. Kind of. I mean, it's not going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think Cowboy could win either way. He could win standing. He could win it. He could finish it on the ground.
Yeah, there's no doubting his Muay Thai skills either.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, those combos are just nasty that he's been landing recently. So,
What do they call the one he did on Rick's Story? Super Saiyan or something like that? What's that from? Dragon Ball Z?
I don't know.
um, oh no, and I liked the video this one guy did. I forget his name. This guy on YouTube. He did it like it was to the words of Sherlock Holmes. You ever watch the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr.?
No, never have.
Okay, in these movies, Sherlock Holmes is he's a martial artist as well. He's a sleuth, he's a detective, but he also has fighting skills. And when he has a fight scene in a movie, he you hear his narration. It's like punch to the throat, then to the ribs, and break the ribs with the left, and then and all this. So this guy did this video. He took Cowboy's last sequence against Rick Story, where he's like bang 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 and finished him off with a head kick. He put that to the words of Sherlock Holmes. You kind of just have to see it.
That's badass. Post that on Twitter for all of our listeners to catch, because I definitely want to see
I will.
that.
It's great. It's fantastic.
So, all right, Ted, you ready to break into our main event of the evening?
Yes.
Max Holloway going against Showtime Pettis, guys. Let me slowly inch in on this. Max Holloway has not lost since his last fight with Conor McGregor. He put together a 9-fight win streak right now. Still hasn't got the title shot. 9-fight win streak. Still hasn't got the title shot. Now you got Showtime Pettis, former champion. And I just want to clear this up for everybody because there's been a lot of debate about this. Former champion, first guy ever from the UFC on a Wheaties box. We remember him from MTV's True Life. I'm a mixed martial artist fighter, or a cage fighter. Even though he hasn't been doing that well, he did win his last fight at 145, submitting Oliveira off of his back. But even though he wasn't doing too well, he now changes weight classes. He's a former champion, and I think he can easily beat, not easily, but I think he will beat Max Holloway here. I think this is a very tough matchup for Max Holloway. Max is a great grinder. We don't know what to expect if it does go all 5 rounds. Max might have the overhand there. But Showtime Pettis, man, look what he's been doing with the kicks. Those kicks are deadly. Is he going to have a good weight cut? That's another question we don't know. I don't like making my predictions until we see the weigh-ins. However, I see Showtime having the advantage here, Ted.
Do you? Well, and you talk about the weight cut. I mean, Pettis did just fine the time before, right? I mean, because this will be his second fight.
He didn't know if he would do it again, if he was going to stay at 145 until there was talk about him potentially fighting Jose Aldo.
Right, and okay, so this isn't for the title; it's for the interim featherweight title. I think that was they sweetened the deal for him. He said, I don't know if I want to return to 145. They said, how about for the interim title? Okay, I'll do it, because if he gets this, then he gets Aldo.
Well, we discussed this last week, Ted, why they did this. In my opinion, it's because you're not going to sell a pay-per-view unless there's some sort of title involved there. And it was very confusing what happened.
It was a last-minute desperation move.
Yeah.
They couldn't get anybody else, so they're like, let's just set up an interim fight,
DC's out, Max Holloway, Showtime Pettis steps up. Now it's a 5-round fight. Were they training for 3? Were they training for 5? That's another factor that goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most fighters, train for more than than they're like if you're fighting a 3-round fight, you train more to build your cardio up.
Yeah, you should be. You should be.
Right, in theory.
And you know damn well Showtime's been used to that. But then again, Ted, Max Holloway, man, he's got great cardio. He's got cardio for days. If it does go later into the fight, I do see Max having an advantage.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've never known Pettis to have any problems either with his cardio.
Well, I feel like Max is going to make him work, in the first opening rounds, obviously. And if he doesn't finish Max, man, I don't know, because he is dropping down to 145. Don't forget.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, it's a little lower than he's been used to for most of his career. But although it's not, like I said, it's not the first time that he's been to 145. Maybe 145 is his best division. Maybe we haven't seen the best of Anthony Pettis, because he was struggling. When he lost to Edson Barbosa, he lost to Eddie Alvarez, he lost to RDA. Maybe this is like Cowboy going up to welterweight. Maybe this is the change that Pettis needed.
Which you usually don't see a lot. Like when fighters get older, you'd think they would want to go up in weight. I think this was a perfect change. I did a whole video on this. I think this was the change that Showtime Pettis needed to clear his mind of a slate of like starting fresh.
Right.
And he submitted Oliveira off of his freaking back, dude.
Oh,
a submission artist, a submission specialist got submitted in top position.
Right. I mean, we've seen that from Pettis before. He submitted Ben Henderson. He's Ben Henderson was, I think, a brown belt at the time. He submitted Gilbert Melendez, who was a black belt, or is still, but
who was a black belt?
Right. He lost his black belt when Pettis submitted him. No, I'm kidding. So anyway, but here's the other thing. This thing out of left field, but you remember his cars were burned.
Yeah.
Anthony Pettis, somebody firebombed his cars.
I heard it was Max Holloway.
Well, check this out then. Holloway just hired a couple of thugs to break into the new cars that Anthony Pettis bought. No, I'm not kidding you.
What, Ted?
I'm not kidding you. No, I mean, I'm kidding. There were a couple of people. It's on videotape, because after Anthony Pettis' cars were burned, he then got some cameras. He got some security cameras, right?
I hope, yeah.
And caught on tape in broad daylight. This car, I'm serious. This car pulls up to Anthony Pettis' house. These two dudes get out. They try the first car. The car's locked. They try the car closer, or it's an SUV, closer to Anthony Pettis' house. They get in the car. And they ransacked it.
Max Holloway sitting in the front seat looking out with sunglasses.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't hear that because last interview I heard.
It happened. It did happen.
The last interview I heard, Showtime wasn't sure what started the fires. He didn't even know if it was vandalism or if it was on, with the cars. But clearly, it's Max Holloway.
We've uncovered it right here. You heard it here first.
You heard it here
people.
First.
We figured it out. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, Pettis has said, "Hey, look, this is my city. Milwaukee's my city. I'm going to stay here."
Yeah.
And I was reading something. I mean, he does like charitable events and things for the youth and stuff like that. So he's really tied into the community and does a lot for the community. And this is the thanks that he gets. I mean, come on, it's a shame that I mean, he's already got a security system. What does he need to do now? Erect a fence around his home, with spikes on the top, or hire a security force?
It was kind of funny. They were so like cool about it. They were like taking selfies in front of it and shit. Like it didn't bother them. And that might be like a thing that he's trying not to let it bother him because going to his fight or whatnot. But
right,
that's serious matter when you get people on camera jumping out of a car to break into yours. Like what?
I'm just hoping that his head is clear. And he does just it's tough to do that, but just shelve this for right now. Don't worry about it and focus on the fight. And by the way, I'm going with Pettis on this one.
You are going with Showtime.
Yeah, I'm going with Showtime. I mean, a 9-fight win streak is hard to ignore. Holloway's been on a tear, and especially that last fight with Lamas. Who can forget that? Point like this and banging a dang and a dang and a dang.
We're going to be talking about that at the end of the year. Show that has to win one of the categories.
Oh, that's up there with fight of the year.
That's like a standout moment of the year category winner.
Right, and I saw something on Reddit about quotes of the year. We might have to go into that a little bit.
There you go.
Quotes of the year, like
Dominic Cruz saying I realized that I don't need the belts to be happy. He said something like that. I love.
Who said that?
Dominic Cruz. He was like, the day I realized I don't need the belts to be happy, or something. He said something similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a decision that some fighters come to. They're like, you know what? I just want the money. I just want the money. I don't want the belt. I don't want the headache of the belt. I just want to make a lot of money. I just want to support my family and myself.
So Ted, really quick,
Yeah.
in foresight, looking forward after this fight, matchups to make. Now you got, if Showtime wins, going up against Jose Aldo. That's a fight we've all wanted to see. Maybe we wish it happened 3 years ago. However, I would still love to see that fight. But Jose Aldo, man, he's got his eyes set on Conor. He just wants that Conor fight right now. He really doesn't care. He went through Frankie Edgar in hopes that the next fight is going to be Conor.
Right, and that's what I was hoping for. That was, like I said, I keep saying this, but that was the fair fight. That was the fight that made the most sense. If you wanted to be fair about it, make that fight at 205. But I mean, this fight here for the interim title, it's going to be interesting to see what Jose Aldo's reaction to this is, regardless of who wins. Whether it's Holloway, whether it's Pettis, what is Jose Aldo's reaction? Is he going to be up for a fight against the winner? Or is he still going to hold out for Conor until, what, May or June?
Yeah, 10 months. 10 months he's off, Conor.
And Conor's been stripped. He now has Conor's title.
But he's saying that he's still the champ. He's saying we know who the champ is, and I think they should run with that and sell that.
But would you rather see Conor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov?
No. Maybe, yeah.
See?
I'd like to see whatever happens with Conor. I'm sure they're going to build the story perfect for it, whatever path he takes.
My conclusion is Conor's worried about two things. He only cares about two things: money and legacy. Legacy meaning he wanted those two belts. He didn't care if the UFC stripped him of one of those belts. It's just the fact that he had them, if even for a moment.
He did it, yeah.
Right? He did it. He achieved what no one else has been able to achieve up until that point. He was a two-division champion. Sure, they took the belt away, but it doesn't matter to him. See? He's not about defending belts. He's just about getting them, and he's just about adding to his legacy. And so I could see him not wanting to fight Jose Aldo again, because how's that going to add to his legacy?
Yeah, he says he can't get pumped up for that.
He already beat the guy in 13 seconds.
And he dropped out of the fight how many times when they were trying to, set that all up?
Right. So if you've got Conor, who's not up for a fight against Aldo, and if you've got Aldo, who only wants to fight Conor, then we've got a problem on our hands.
Yeah.
So either the winner of Holloway versus Pettis might have to defend that interim belt, like Heyman Barao had to.
Yep.
But that was only because Dominic Cruz was injured. This is Aldo holding out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that I hope they make Aldo fight the winner of this fight. That's it.
Well, you know what, Ted? Even if Showtime wins, I could see him beating Aldo. If Max wins, I won't be that surprised. But if Max wins and then goes to fight Jose Aldo, I'm gonna say the same thing. I don't favor Max in that Jose Aldo fight. But then again, Max is a little scrapper, man. He's quick. He's fast. He's got cardio. He's got the speed and agility. I kind of wanted to see Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar. I thought that would have been a great fight.
Dude, I'm excited for any of these fights.
I know they're all great. I'm interested to see how Max is gonna go up against somebody like Showtime or somebody like Jose Aldo. I'm very interested. Yeah. He had trouble with Conor. We'll see. We'll wait. We're gonna.
That was 10 fights ago.
Yeah, that was. It was 10 fights ago. Exactly. He's still a young fighter. I just don't see him as the champion yet.
Well, I mean, I'm picking Pettis. I would be happy with either guy.
Me too.
Holloway or Pettis. It's kind of one of these fights you don't want to see. You don't want to see either guy lose, at least from my perspective. Because I'm a fan of both guys. I don't want to see either. How can they both win? They can't. But
well, they could. They could. It could be a draw.
Yeah, that's true. But I wouldn't mind seeing either Holloway or Pettis against Aldo. I'll take either one.
Well, and then that will set up another crazy journey of a story on top of that for the featherweight division. We're going to have to wait and see. if there's any questions that you guys got, make sure you shoot away. We're going to be inching towards the end of our show. I think we got one more thing to discuss. But if you guys have anything that you want to discuss, Ted, I got something. You might not have anything written down, but I got something I want to talk about really quick.
Oh, yeah, go right ahead, Eddie.
But if you guys have any questions, make sure you hit Ted up in the open chat room. You were listening to Evil IntoxicaTED episode number 25. Tonight we had a lot to discuss between Chris Cyborg, which I thought was very weird. We broke down Ultimate Fighter season 24. We talked about Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell. This will be back up on YouTube, and it will be up and running on the iTunes page, which will be up very shortly. We're going to be doing an end of the year show. So I want to get all of your opinions on some of your favorite interviews that me and Ted did this year, or I did this year. It's been a wild year, Ted, and I'm going to be sending you that email as well with all the categories and everything. I'm looking forward to that. Something really quick I want to discuss though, Ted.
All right, lay it on me.
So Khabib, right? I just want to get this in the past. Khabib and Tony Ferguson, if they did fight, I got into a little back and forth this week. Tony versus Khabib, who do you like in that fight?
Whew, man.
Would you want to see Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor? Because I feel like if Tony did win, they'd push it even further away.
What do you mean they push it further?
I feel like they could sell a Khabib versus Conor McGregor because of the Russia thing behind them, the promo that they cut. Tony Ferguson's like, I don't care. I feel like Tony's a dangerous guy. He just beat RDA, but I feel like if Tony did win, they'd make him wait twice as long as they would make Khabib. Just in my opinion. People don't like that I said that, but it's what I really do think.
Because there's no story there. Is that what you're saying?
There's no story there.
And
a fight to sell. Conor's going to be like, who the hell is Tony Ferguson?
Right. I mean, it unfortunately or fortunately, however you like to look at it, it kind of is like pro wrestling in a sense that we've grown accustomed to there being storyline.
And that's why, some people got a little angry with me this week, but it's just what we've been seeing. I'm just letting you guys know what we've been seeing lately. This isn't anything crazy I'm saying. This is something that the UFC's imprinted in my head of thinking. This is a way of thinking that the UFC showed us they've been thinking like.
Yeah, I know. You might be onto something there. I mean, yeah, because Khabib, going back to Conor, going off after two things, money and legacy. So pretty much every fight that he has, he's always asking for more money, right? Oh, I made you this much money, so you need to give me, $2 million more or whatever. Or like, remember, for 205, what did he want?
10 million, right?
10 or 7, and he settled on what, 3.5 or something like that. They were able to get him down to half of what he wanted. But anyway, yeah. So you got Khabib, who's undefeated, and also so that would be a feather in Conor's cap to say that he was the first guy to hand Khabib, the great Khabib Nurmagomedov, 24-0, to hand him his first loss. That's something. And then I was thinking also, the UFC wants to, maybe before WME IMG bought it, they wanted to make inroads into Russia, right? So you could have it in a huge stadium in Russia and break the attendance record set by Ronda in Australia.
There you go.
Which would be another legacy for Conor. See, he's all about that.
I think that they could build a lot more if Khabib won. So that was just my opinion. I want to know what you guys thought about it. I don't think I'm crazy for thinking that way or saying that. I just think that that's the truth. Like you said, it will just be a little harder to sell a Tony Ferguson. It wouldn't be on one of the top highlights of Conor's legacy right now.
He would. Okay, so
people are looking for the next big thing,
right? So if Ferguson beats Nurmagomedov, you could bill it as, okay, the man who beat this unstoppable force in Khabib Nurmagomedov. Then you're going to need Ferguson to say something really crazy. He's going to have to pull a Nate Diaz. He's gonna have to pull a Nate Diaz in his post-fight
Yeah.
talk in the cage. Then you've got it.
If he doesn't realize that he has to do that kind of stuff, if the fighters aren't catching on to this at this point, Ted, you're in a different reality. And unfortunately, people don't like that, but it's the way it is right now. And it works. And it's what the sport has been thriving off. And if you're in talks at the top of the ranking to fight Conor McGregor, you got to make something happen, man.
Yep. So, oh, geez. And just ask me something. I just want to say this real quick. Unfortunately, my kitten is not doing well. Yeah.
We talked about this last week, Ted. I'm so sorry to hear what happened last week. He's not doing any better at all.
No, we had to put him down.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we had to put him down.
What was happening? Because I know you were saying that it was random. Did they find out what it was?
It's I don't know what it stands for, but it's called FIP. It's feline something something. To boil it down, it's like ALS for cats. It's like Lou Gehrig's disease for cats. Like they start to lose motor function. Like his back legs weren't working, and then he was kind of like having tremors. Seizures, almost like mini seizures, and yeah. So we had to.
I'm sorry, Ted.
Oh,
how's the kids reacting to that?
Oh, everybody's been devastated. I mean, and not that it would be any easier if he had lived a long life, but it's just the fact that he was just like, we only had him for like 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's sad. That's really sad, man. I hate hearing that, especially. I'm a huge animal lover. I know Ann's a huge animal lover, and I know that you had a little faith for him. And around the holidays, man, emotions are double what they should be.
Yeah, it was really, really bad.
So until next Wednesday, guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm sorry, but the rest of the episode will be up here on YouTube. You're listening to Evil IntoxicaTED episode number 25. Next week, until next week, I want you guys to think about what your favorite fighter was this year. What your favorite fight was this year. And me and Ted will be discussing this on the end of the year show. I will have a bunch of guests lined up. If you guys have any recommendations or anyone that you guys would like to see on the show, make sure you let us know on Twitter at evil_echo or at pureevilmma. Make sure you guys give Ted a follow on Twitter at Ted Shack and also on YouTube. Check out his page. Check out Minion's rankings report. He does it every Thursday. And also Pure Evil MMA podcast will be up. Ted, I just want to announce really quick, there will be a new day that I'm going to be releasing the podcast. I've got a request to do it earlier in the week because I've been releasing it like Wednesday, Thursday. By that point, it's already halfway through the week, so I'm going to be releasing it Monday nights, Tuesday mornings, Monday nights. So you guys get to look forward to that. Ted, is there anything else going on in the chat room? If anyone's got any last questions, now's your chance, guys.
Oh, we had a little problem with the with the stream. It looks like it froze for a second. It was fine for me, but they were saying it was a black screen for a little while.
Really?
Which is really odd because we were talking about my cat. That's kind of strange.
Yeah, it says I got all green bars on mine. It says dropped frame 0%, so we're good. I don't know what that was about.
That's weird. But now it's back, so that's good.
Now we're back, but now it's time to go.
Now it's time to go. Yeah. No, I'm good, man.
You know how we do this, Ted. Really quick, where can everybody find you, and what is on your page this week? What videos did you make that they can go check out right now?
Well, let's see. I talked about Randy Couture and that whole mess in Washington, D.C. What else did I talk about? I was going to do a cyborg video. I never got around to doing that. Oh, the email that I got today about the Mixed Martial Arts Athletes Association. I did a video on that. Just anything and everything that is that is going on in the MMA world. I usually end up doing a video on it. And if not, I take requests. So if you have something that you want me to do a video on, please let me know. Just look up my name, TEDCZECH.
That's not CHECK. That's CZECH.
You got it, tough guy. Muradai's asking me, am I doing the fantasy picks?
Oh, UFC Pick'em. He probably wants to ask about UFC Pick'em.
Yeah, I haven't. I've never done it. He's asking me if I do them. And I haven't yet.
Well, Ted, if you want to join the evil army, let me know. I'll set you up with the UFC Pick'em. Somebody showed me the Tapology page, which is pretty cool too. I got a couple of requests to join a couple of groups on Facebook for some MMA love, but I stick with my evil family. You guys all know that we got the segment on the podcast for us with the Crystal Skull. This week, our winner was Leslie. So congratulations, Leslie, wherever you are right now in Canada. I hope you will be enjoying this week's fights because your Canadian brothers and sisters, I'm sure will. I sure will. And you guys know where to find me on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. Make sure you subscribe down below. We do this every Wednesday night. Ted, I had a great night with you, man. Another great episode number 25. Make sure you guys give us a like on Facebook at Pure Evil MMA. Also, this will be up on our YouTube page. And Ted, will you be putting this on your YouTube page or
Oh yeah, I always do. I just I wait for you to put it up and then I just grab it and throw it on mine. Yep.
Okay, cool.
You got it.
And last thing, guys, behave yourselves. Enjoy your night, guys. Evil
Thanks,
Intoxicated
everyone.
episode 25. We're out.